we all know. I'm also facing a serious attack from these people who have been terrorizing. I need donations if you can give them to Cash App Julie. I was featured on the news, both faux news, those fake ass motherfucking fascists. Multnomah County DA, I see you. DHS, Ice Cowboys, I see you too. We're gonna do this. I'm not afraid. I'm not gonna roll over. Not to some Proud Boys, not to some Blackwater mercenaries, and absolutely not to a rapist, felon, con man, and his cronies.
What a surprise. The Antifa schizoid engaging in open domestic terrorism on the streets of Portland is unemployed and broke. Obviously, it's no surprise. These Antifa street thugs always are. They're either broke and hopeless, so they basically have all day to be engaging in this ridiculous nonsense, or they're privileged suburban kids who also have all the time in the day because mommy and daddy pays for everything. It's always these people who don't work, who don't contribute, who don't build a damn thing that try to destroy and leech. That's the entire Antifa movement. A bunch of unemployed, overgrown children with way too much time on their hands, absolutely no purpose, and of course, a little sprinkle of deranged Democrat thinking, maybe some SSRIs. You know, the perfect recipe for having your brain twisted by Democrat rhetoric, following this cult of victim worship of the modern left, which seems to reward failure and glorify dysfunction. We're supposed to believe that these are brave freedom fighters who are fighting fascism, but they aren't. They're not fighting fascism. They're not oppressed. They're privileged runts who are raised in safe little blue bubbles, and they're now desperately trying to manufacture some meaning by cosplaying as these little street revolutionaries. And obviously, the leftist leaders, the leftist cultural apparatus coddles them, hands them legal cover, media protection, and of course, funding and donations. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking, enough. Enough is enough. We gotta stop giving these little spoiled degenerates the benefit of the doubt. They're not misunderstood. They're not progressive thinkers leading us to a better, more prosperous, and cohesive future. No, they're just dangerous extremists. And what's going on the streets of Portland is the perfect example of that. It's one after another. A knife attack one night, destructive vandalism the next. There's a video of another hooded Antifa activist attempting to cut the power cables outside the ICE building, lurking in the dead of night with a black mask, crawling through the bushes, literally committing sabotage. It's out of frickin' control. And all of this could so easily stop tomorrow if Democrat leaders wanted it to stop. I mean, in this case, for instance, this individual, Julie Winters, Christopher Hudson, whatever you want to call this individual, well, they're not some random face in the crowd. I've seen that face before. Andy Ngo has been reporting on these individuals for years. These are known, documented serial instigators. The feds and local police departments know who these people are. They've had run-ins with these people. All the available information points to these individuals being dangerous, yet they kept being allowed back on the streets over and over again to commit these insane acts with absolutely no consequences. Democrat leaders are asleep at the wheel. They've deliberately created this system where leftist violence is given a free pass. If you're smashing windows in the name of social justice, it's a non-issue. If you're attacking federal officers when Joe Biden is president, you're a domestic extremist. If you do it when Donald Trump is in office, it's righteous resistance against the American fall to fascism. It's unbelievable and it's obviously unsustainable. But very clearly, and I think Portland is the warning sign, this is the America the Democrats are building, one where the criminals are the victims and the actual victims, like law enforcement in this case, they're treated like the problem. One where attempted murderers become folk heroes as long as they say the right buzzwords and attach a rainbow flag to their lapel. It is out of control. We are watching a political movement that has gone so far off the frickin' rails that they've completely lost the ability to call out evil, to call out wrong, when it's staring them right in the frickin' face. In this case, staring them in the face with a damn 6-inch knife. The city of Portland ought to be the wake-up call. Democrat cities are out of frickin' control. Portland, Oregon is an ideological lab experiment gone horribly, and violently wrong. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
A frozen treat as sweet as me.
Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be discussing the social risk metric, and just talk.
SpongeBob SquarePants has been on TV for over 2 decades, and in that time, he's had 6 different body shapes, 5 shades of yellow, and at least 4 animation styles that'll haunt your dreams. He's gone from this to this.
I mean, how bad could it be?
To whatever this is. But here's the thing. SpongeBob's look has never just been a style. It's also a sign. A visual diary of what's happening underneath the sea and behind the scenes. Because every time SpongeBob changes, it means the show has changed too. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's chaos, and sometimes it's a total creative meltdown with a backstory you would not believe. From pencil and paper charm to digital weirdness and multiverse madness, there's always a story to be told in Bikini Bottom. The first season of SpongeBob is just, different. Back then, SpongeBob was hand-drawn, pencil on paper, every frame scanned and painted by someone probably running on cold pizza and caffeine. And it shows in the best possible way. This was the only season made entirely with traditional cell animation. No fancy software, no digital shortcuts, just sweat, ink, and error-prone human hands trying to keep SpongeBob's eyes the same size, and failing glorious. But that was the magic. SpongeBob's design wasn't consistent, it was dynamic. His shape would shift from shot to shot. His pores wandered, his skin was a pale, washed-out yellow that somehow made the underwater vibe feel more real. Like you were actually watching a bootleg cartoon drawn at the bottom of the ocean. Even the backgrounds had personality. Sometimes it's flat, sometimes grainy, and sometimes weirdly beautiful. They felt like they were painted on a damp paper, and that's not a dig. That's part of what made Season 1 feel alive. Season 1 didn't just look underwater, it felt underwater. The colors were more muted, kind of matte, not the neon crisp tones we'd get later. The sound design had this soft, constant water ambiance, bubble effects, distant waves, even little things like Squidward face planting in the sand kicked up bubbles, not dust. It's why some fans joke that if you didn't see the intro, you might think the newer SpongeBob takes place on land. I mean, you could tell from this scene alone which season this scene is from. But the real power wasn't in the drawings, it was in the people behind them. Steven Hillenburg, a marine biologist turned cartoon rebel, pulled in a bunch of animation weirdos from Rocko's Modern Life and gave them one directive. Make it funny, make it weird, don't overthink it. So they didn't. They filled every frame with scream, nonsense reaction shots, and expressions that felt like meme templates. And even though SpongeBob's design broke every rule, the appeal was undeniable. Season 1 wasn't perfect. It didn't want to be. It wanted to be alive, and it gives SpongeBob a life. But unfortunately, this kind of hand-drawn technique means more expensive episodes, so they had to make some changes in the future. Season 2 was the first season to go digitally inked and painted, which basically means SpongeBob finally discovered computers. The smudges are gone, the wobbly lines are tightened, the colors are also brighter, smoother. But don't worry, the charm stayed. SpongeBob still bounced like a rubber band on espresso. His face still stretched like pizza dough. The infamous new cheeks show up around dying for pie, though they were clearly still invading. And even though it was digitally inked, the animation was still mostly hand-drawn. You could feel the effort. Especially early in the season, there was a ton of movement. The animators started pushing the characters' faces like they were made of Play-Doh. You got the nightmare stare, the ultra-detailed reaction faces, the kind of shots that made you feel the energy. And behind all that madness is C.H. Greenblatt. Greenblatt didn't draw SpongeBob like a character. He drew him like a panic attack in square form, and it ruled. The show wasn't just trying to be funny anymore, it knew it was funny. SpongeBob wasn't just a weirdo sponge now, he was the guy. Even Bikini Bottom leveled up. Backgrounds got more textured, color gradients started popping in during emotional moments. It still felt underwater, just like the ocean had gotten into art school. SpongeBob isn't the only one that got upgraded. Patrick ditched the M brows and got his classic Z slants by episode 4. His pink color also got a retouch. SpongeBob's color? Somewhere between beige, white cheddar, and cartoon anxiety. Still asymmetrical, still off-model in the best way. This was also the season that blew SpongeBob wide open. Graveyard Shift, Sailor Mouth, Something Smells. These episodes brought us so many memes, people still quote them to this day. And if Season 2 was the glow-up, Season 3 was the peak form. This is SpongeBob graphics running at maximum settings. Peak weird, peak funny, peak what did I just watch and why am I still laughing 3 hours later? The animation is still bouncy, but now it's precise. Every line feels intentional, every gag hits with surgical timing. Yeah, it's a little stiffer than Season 2, especially in the second half, but what it loses in stretch, it makes up for in focus. SpongeBob's shape leaned more rectangular. His eyeballs shrank a bit, and those Aaron Springer cheeks, they're now a standard feature, like he's always on the edge of laughing or snapping. The acting was also in peak form. Tom Kenny crushed the job this season. SpongeBob's timing, micro reactions, the pause before the punchline delivery, all of it is razor sharp. This was the season that gave us the camping episode, Chocolate with Nuts, Just One Bite, and the Krusty Krab training video. Every frame of Season 3 screams perfection. This was the last season that still felt underwater, not just digitally rendered to look like it. It's crazy to think how much they improved for each season, not just in animation, but also overall quality. But under all that gold was a goodbye. This was supposed to be the end. Season 3 is the final breath of the golden era. Right before the mutation, before the humor turned into a fever dream. This was the last time SpongeBob felt fully SpongeBob. It was building towards this, the original movie. This was the final act, the big, weird, emotional curtain call Steven Hillenburg always planned. A 90-minute mic drop for the weird little sponge that somehow took over the world. And honestly, it delivered. Right from the first frame, you could tell something had changed. This wasn't your Saturday morning SpongeBob anymore. This was widescreen. The animation stepped up hard. We're talking deep shading, soft gradients, smooth outlines, and sunsets that looked straight up beautiful. That scene alone, where SpongeBob walks through a moody orange-pink sky or Skywater, looked better than half the animated films released that year. The animators knew this was their chance to show off, and they did. They went full Looney Tunes style, but with restraint. The characters were still two-dimensional, still SpongeBob, but the expressions, they went off-model in the best way. Faces warped, eyes bulged, cheeks flapped like pancake batter. There are expressions in this movie that the show has never attempted again, and probably never will. Even the character designs got more subtle tweaks. SpongeBob looked more refined, thinner outline, richer color, a little more polished than Season 3's squishy chaos. You could argue he looked grown up, just a little, which is perfect because that's the story the movie told. The Goofy Goober rock solo? Iconic. The David Hasselhoff surf rescue? Based. The one last tear in Shell City? emotional. And yet, it worked. This movie had a single purpose, to end SpongeBob on a high note, and Hillenburg nailed it. Unfortunately, Nickelodeon wasn't done. They saw SpongeBob riding David Hasselhoff like a jet ski and thought, you know what, let's make more, just without the guy who created it. And that's why things got weird in the following seasons. At first glance, Season 4 looks mostly familiar. The animation still has some of that movie polish, but then you look closer. The animation style in Season 4 is a mixed bag. The first half is not bad. Episodes like Fear of a Krabby Patty even stand out, with slightly looser animation, brighter colors, and more expressive faces. In fact, that episode has a completely unique look. SpongeBob's design in that episode is slightly sharper, more angular, and it's never used again. I don't know why. That one episode is a strange, beautiful anomaly, but after that, things slowly start getting meh. SpongeBob and Patrick get larger pupils, their faces shift slightly, more soft round bean than chaotic sponge. The classic old cheeks mostly vanish, SpongeBob barely uses them anymore. And while Squidward stays mostly untouched, the rest of the cast starts getting a weird, almost sanitized makeover. Some episodes feel pale and washed out, kind of like Season 2's duller tones. Others are more saturated, but still lacking warmth. It's just inconsistent. Some frames look like Season 3, others feel like they've been passed through a cold Instagram filter. You can tell they're trying to make it look more polished, but in the process, they lose something. And the animation itself? Well, it walks a tightrope. By the time you hit episodes like The Pink Purloiner or Best Day Ever, you feel it hard. This sponge is moving weird.
Mr. Sun came up and he smiled at me. Said it's gonna be a good one, just wait and see.
I'm not saying it's bad, it's just noticeably average. Like they were trying to keep things safe. The backgrounds still feel professional, they do the job. Bikini Bottom still feels underwater, just with less personality. SpongeBob personally, however, that's where the real shift begins. SpongeBob's not quite himself. His energy is still high, but his character feels simplified. He's louder, fuzzier, less sharp. It's the start of Flanderization, that slow cartoon death spiral where characters get boiled down to one exaggerated trait. In SpongeBob's case, goofy innocence becomes relentless stupidity. He's not broken yet, but you can feel it coming. There are still funny episodes in the season, still weird moments, but something is undeniably different. Season 5 basically picks up right where Season 4 left off, but this time the stiffness kicks in like a karate chop to the animation budget. Seriously, it starts stiff. The movements slow down, reactions flatten, characters barely stretch. Midway through Season 5, the show ditches traditional hand-drawn sketches entirely and goes fully digital, using computer tablets for both animation and storyboards. Yes, you could argue that it's still technically hand-drawn, but it's just not the same. No more pencil lines means no more sketchy energy. This is the beginning of what some would call the Photoshop era. Every line is smooth, every pose is calculated, and every character moves like they're scared to rip their pants. Starting with Pest of the West, the switch is official. No paper, no pencil, just styluses and screens and a lot of Control Z. It's not all bad though. Oddly enough, while the animation got rigid, the coloring actually improved. There's something weirdly nostalgic about it. The color palette from Season 1 makes a kind of return, just in a brighter, cleaner form. And the backgrounds? Still beautiful. There's a ton of effort in the scenery. Bikini Bottom starts feeling more built out, more lived in, even if the people walking around it move like they're in a turn-based RPG. You'll also spot new background fish, slightly sharper outlines, and for some reason, Plankton gets huge. Like physically, his model is noticeably bigger. Not sure why, just is. As for Mr. Krabs, his color shifts from classic crusty red to some strange glossy pink-orange-red mix. It's like he's just covered in glass now. It's not a plot point, it's just happening, permanently. There are still fun moments, don't get me wrong. A few episodes still deliver. Clever visual gags, decent pacing, solid timing. But you can sense the